Tom Bower just dropped a truth bomb that has Meghan Markle absolutely spiraling behind the gates of her Montecito mansion. The renowned biographer who predicted every single Sussex scandal before it exploded is back with revelations so explosive, so damning, that even Meghan's carefully practiced poker face might finally crack. And what he's exposing isn't just another PR disaster. This is about the complete unraveling of everything Meghan has desperately tried to build since fleeing the royal family. Sources close to the situation are whispering about financial chaos that would make anyone's head spin. We're talking about a $16 million mansion that's become more burden than blessing, failed brand deals hemorrhaging money faster than Meghan can manufacture new jam batches, and a Netflix partnership that's delivering views in the triple digits instead of the millions she promised investors. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. Bower isn't just speculating. He's connecting dots that paint a picture of desperation so intense, it explains every bizarre public appearance, every cringe-worthy humanitarian award acceptance, every tone-deaf Fashion Week gatecrash we've witnessed over the past year. The most shocking part, everything Bower warned us about in Revenge is coming true in real time. Remember when he detailed the Kensington Palace bullying allegations, and Meghan's team screamed it was all lies? Well, the Sussex Survivors Club in California is singing the same tune now. Remember when he exposed the inauthenticity of her carefully curated image? American Riviera Orchard's Illinois jam factory just proved him right. Remember when he predicted she couldn't sustain the victim narrative? The Vanity Fair American Hustle article basically wrote his next chapter for him. But this latest revelation cuts deeper than anything we've seen before. Bower is now suggesting that Meghan's entire Montecito operation is running on fumes, held together by smoke mirrors and a rapidly diminishing royal title that Prince William is reportedly desperate to strip away. Industry insiders are confirming what we've all suspected. Nobody wants to back brand Meghan. Major retailers are running in the opposite direction. A-list celebrities are quietly unfollowing and distancing themselves. Even the fashion houses that once courted her are suddenly unavailable when her team calls. And here's the truly devastating part that has Meghan reportedly losing sleep. Bower is drawing direct parallels between her situation and Prince Andrew's spectacular fall from grace. The same pattern, the same denial, the same refusal to accept reality until King Charles was forced to make an unprecedented move that shocked the entire world. If it could happen to the king's own brother, a prince of the blood, what protection does a duchess by marriage really have? Especially one whose husband is desperately trying to rebuild bridges in Britain while she burns every remaining connection from her Montecito bunker. The endgame Bower is predicting isn't pretty, and Meghan knows it, but that's just the beginning of this story. Here's what makes Tom Bower absolutely terrifying for Meghan Markle. The man doesn't miss. His track record for predicting Sussex scandals before they detonate in the public sphere is so accurate, it's almost supernatural. And that's precisely why this latest revelation has Team Sussex in full panic mode. Let's rewind for a moment and look at the receipts. When Bower published Revenge, Meghan's PR machine went into overdrive trying to discredit every single claim. They called him biased. They called him a hater. They mobilized the Sussex squad to attack him viciously online. But then something fascinating started happening. One by one, every major allegation in that book started getting confirmed by independent sources. The bullying claims, validated by multiple staff members in California. The authenticity issues, exposed by her own product launches. The narcissism patterns, displayed repeatedly in her public appearances and tone-deaf interviews. Bower warned us that Meghan's brand strategy was fundamentally flawed because she refuses to show vulnerability or admit mistakes. Fast forward to With Love Meghan, where she's literally pretending to make jam in her kitchen while it's actually being manufactured in an Illinois factory. He predicted she'd struggle to maintain celebrity friendships because everything with Meghan becomes transactional. Look at the Hollywood exodus now, with A-listers quietly backing away from any Sussex association. He detailed her inability to hold on to staff because of impossible demands and explosive behavior. The revolving door at the Montecito compound is spinning so fast, it's basically a carnival ride at this point. But here's where Bower's credibility becomes truly devastating for Meghan. He didn't just expose past behavior, he predicted future failures with chilling accuracy. He said American Riviera Orchard would collapse under the weight of her inauthenticity. It ranked 383rd on Netflix's popularity charts before products even launched. He said major retailers would refuse to stock her goods despite the royal connection. Not a single major chain has touched her merchandise. He warned that her victim narrative had an expiration date. The public backlash to her constant complaining while living in a mansion has been brutal and unforgiving. Industry insiders who once dismissed Bower as just another royal commentator are now quietly admitting he was right about everything. Fashion journalists who praised Meghan's style are referencing his analysis of her calculated image construction. Business reporters covering the Sussex brand failures are citing his predictions about her inability to execute professional ventures. Even royal experts who initially defended Meghan are walking back their positions as Bower's assessments prove accurate again and again. This credibility gap is absolutely crushing for Meghan because it means people are listening when Bower speaks. When he says the Montecito operation is imploding, investors pay attention. When he predicts title stripping might be inevitable, palace watchers take notes. When he draws parallels between Meghan's trajectory and other failed celebrity brands, Hollywood executives reconsider partnership opportunities. His words carry weight that no amount of Sussex PR spinning can diminish, and that power terrifies Meghan more than any tabloid hit piece ever could. Let's talk about the elephant in the Montecito mansion, or more accurately, the $16 million albatross around the Sussex necks. Because what Tom Bower is now revealing about their financial situation is absolutely jaw-dropping, and it explains so much about Meghan's increasingly desperate public behavior over the past year. That sprawling estate they purchased with such fanfare back in 2020? Sources close to the situation are whispering that it's become a massive financial drain that's bleeding them dry faster than anyone outside their inner circle realized. We're talking property taxes that would make your eyes water, maintenance costs for a compound that size requiring a small army of staff, and security expenses that reportedly run into the millions annually. And here's the kicker. The income streams Meghan was counting on to sustain this lifestyle are evaporating like morning fog in California sunshine. The Netflix deal that was supposed to be their golden ticket? With Love, Meghan's disastrous ratings mean the streaming giant is almost certainly reconsidering the value of that partnership. Industry insiders suggest the Sussexes are unlikely to see the massive payouts they anticipated when signing that contract. The podcast ventures that were meant to generate passive income, both archetypes and the announced confessions of a female founder disappeared into thin air without explanation. Spotify already cut ties, and no other platform seems interested in picking up the pieces. But it gets worse. American Riviera Orchard was supposed to be Meghan's financial salvation, her Martha Stewart moment, her pathway to building a lifestyle empire that could sustain them independently. Instead, it's become a money pit that's consumed resources without generating a single dollar in legitimate revenue. The rebrand to As Ever cost more money. The trademark battles are racking up legal fees. The production costs for products nobody wants to buy are sinking deeper into red ink. And major investors who might have backed a Sussex lifestyle brand are nowhere to be found because, as Bower revealed, nobody wants to put money behind brand Meghan anymore. Palace insiders are quietly suggesting that Harry's increasingly desperate attempts to reconcile with his father aren't just about family healing. There's a financial component nobody wants to discuss publicly. The trust funds and security arrangements Harry relied on as a working royal are gone. The inheritance he expected might be complicated by his scorched earth approach to family relationships. And unlike William, who has the Duchy of Cornwall generating massive annual income, Harry has a lifestyle brand wife whose every venture crashes and burns spectacularly. The really troubling detail Bower is highlighting. The Sussexes are living like they still have royal backing and unlimited resources, but the money coming in doesn't match the money going out. That's not sustainable, and everyone in their financial orbit knows it. The humanitarian award appearances, the Fashion Week desperate grabs, the podcast announcements that never materialize. These aren't strategic career moves. According to sources, these are the actions of people scrambling to maintain relevance while the bank account dwindles and the bills keep piling up in their Montecito mailbox. Now we need to talk about something Meghan desperately doesn't want anyone discussing. The revolving door of staff at the Montecito compound that's spinning so fast it's practically a blur. And Tom Bower's latest revelations about the toxic workplace culture behind those mansion gates are confirming everyone's worst suspicions about what really goes down when the cameras stop rolling and the carefully curated Instagram posts get uploaded. Remember the Kensington Palace allegations? The reports of bullying that had staff members in tears, the claims of impossible demands at 5 in the morning, the whispers about Meghan reducing grown professionals to emotional wrecks? Team Sussex screamed that it was all lies, all racist attacks, all coordinated smears by the evil British media. But here's the problem. The exact same pattern is playing out in California, and this time there's no royal family to blame, no British tabloids to point fingers at, no convenient scapegoat for why employees keep fleeing the Sussex employment like their hair's on fire. Sources in Montecito are painting a picture that mirrors those Kensington Palace horror stories with disturbing accuracy. Staff members who sign on with hopes of working for a duchess and a prince quickly discover the reality behind the polished public image. Word on the street suggests unreasonable expectations, last-minute demands that show zero consideration for personal boundaries, and a work environment where praise is non-existent but criticism flows like wine at a royal reception. The turnover rate is reportedly staggering, with some employees barely lasting weeks before deciding no paycheck is worth the psychological toll. But here's what makes this situation particularly damning for Meghan. Nobody's going on record. Not a single former employee has done a tell-all interview or sold their story to the press, despite what would undoubtedly be lucrative offers from media outlets salivating for insider Sussex dirt. And that silence isn't loyalty. Industry insiders suggest it's fear. Non-disclosure agreements so airtight they'd make the royal family's confidentiality contracts look casual. Legal threats so aggressive that speaking out could mean financial ruin. The kind of intimidation tactics that keep people quiet even when they have legitimate grievances about workplace treatment. The Sussex Survivors Club isn't just a clever nickname anymore. It's becoming a real thing, a network of former employees who privately share war stories about their time in the Montecito trenches but would never dare speak publicly. They're watching what happens to anyone who criticizes Meghan, seeing how the Sussex squad mobilizes to destroy reputations and harass families, and deciding their mental health and personal safety aren't worth becoming the next target. What's truly revealing is how this pattern validates everything Bauer wrote in Revenge about Meghan's management style and treatment of staff. He didn't just document past behavior at Kensington Palace. He predicted it would continue in America, because the problem wasn't the environment or the pressure of royal life. The problem was Meghan herself, her inability to see staff as human beings deserving of respect, her conviction that everyone exists solely to serve her ambitions and cater to her constantly shifting demands and manufactured crises. Let's dive into what might be the most embarrassing professional failure of Meghan Markle's post-royal career, and trust me, that's saying something considering the competition. American Riviera Orchard was supposed to be her crowning achievement, her Martha Stewart moment, her proof that she didn't need the royal family to build a successful empire. Instead, it became a masterclass in how not to launch a lifestyle brand. And Tom Bauer is now exposing exactly why this venture crashed and burned so spectacularly. The problem started before the first jar of jam even shipped. Meghan announced this brand with all the fanfare of a royal proclamation, complete with a carefully staged Instagram launch, and that bizarre video of her arranging flowers in a kitchen that screamed, "I'm so relatable and authentic." But behind the scenes, according to sources, the operation was already in chaos. The trademark applications were a disaster, with legal experts pointing out that she'd allegedly borrowed ideas and branding elements that belonged to other people. The name itself became a legal nightmare, forcing that desperate February rebrand to As Ever that Meghan tried to spin as creative evolution rather than admitting it was damage control. But here's where the inauthenticity Bauer warned us about became impossible to ignore. Those jars of jam Meghan sent to carefully selected influencers and celebrities, the ones she wanted everyone to believe were lovingly handcrafted in her Montecito kitchen, maybe with little Archie and Lilibet helping to stir the pot, traced back to a commercial facility in Illinois. Not homemade, not even California-made, mass-produced spread that wasn't technically jam by any standard definition, shipped from a factory thousands of miles away from her supposed artisanal operation. The authenticity she built her entire brand identity around was exposed as complete fabrication. The timing of the product launch was equally disastrous. With Love Meghan premiered on March 4th, generating whatever buzz a Netflix show ranking 383rd in popularity can generate. But the actual products didn't become available for purchase until April 2nd, nearly a month later. Any marketing expert will tell you that's absolutely insane. You launch products when interest peaks, not after everyone's already moved on to the next celebrity scandal. It's like showing up to your own party after all the guests have gone home and the cake's been eaten. Major retailers took one look at this operation and ran screaming in the opposite direction. No Whole Foods deal, no Target partnership, no Costco arrangement, nothing. Because here's what Bauer revealed that's so damaging. Nobody in the industry wants to associate with brand Meghan, not because they're racist or jealous or intimidated, but because she's demonstrated repeatedly that she cannot execute, cannot deliver, cannot sustain anything beyond initial hype. The jam that wasn't jam, manufactured in Illinois, available a month too late, from a brand that had to change its name due to legal problems. That's not a luxury lifestyle product. That's a punchline waiting to happen, and no major retailer wants that disaster on their shelves. Here's something absolutely devastating that Tom Bauer is exposing about Meghan's current situation. Hollywood is ghosting her. Not loudly, not publicly, but with the kind of quiet professional distancing that's actually far more brutal than any tabloid takedown could ever be. And for someone who built her entire identity around being a celebrity before she ever touched royal life, this silent rejection is cutting deeper than any palace statement or family estrangement ever could. Remember when Meghan and Harry first landed in California? The narrative was all about how Hollywood would embrace them, how A-list celebrities were lining up to collaborate, how their royal connection would open doors that remained closed to ordinary mortals. Fast forward to today, and the reality is absolutely crushing. Sources in the entertainment industry are confirming what we've all been watching play out in slow motion. The big names are quietly unfollowing, the collaboration offers have dried up completely, and nobody with actual star power wants to be photographed anywhere near the Sussexes anymore. Look at the Balenciaga Fashion Week appearance that Meghan tried to spin as some major triumph. Bauer nailed it when he pointed out she invited herself to that event. The designer even confirmed it in an interview with The Cut, admitting she basically forced her way into that show. And here's the really embarrassing part. She was supposed to be celebrating another celebrity, but Meghan managed to make it all about herself, sweeping in wearing what looked like a designer duvet, commanding all the attention while the actual honoree got pushed to the sidelines. That's not strategic networking. That's desperate attention-seeking from someone who knows the invitations have stopped coming. The pattern is absolutely relentless. Every humanitarian award she accepts comes from organizations nobody's ever heard of until the Sussex PR machine starts pumping out press releases. Every podcast guest is either family, paid staff, or someone contractually obligated to appear. Every public event she crashes rather than getting legitimately invited to. The Fortune Most Powerful Women Summit? She showed up at various events associated with it, but insiders whisper she wasn't exactly the keynote speaker they were hoping to book. These appearances aren't career opportunities. They're publicity grabs from someone whose phone has stopped ringing with legitimate offers. What's truly revealing is comparing Meghan's trajectory to other celebrities who've tried to leverage fame into business empires. Victoria Beckham built a legitimate fashion brand despite initial skepticism. Jessica Alba created Honest Company into a real business. Even Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, controversial as it is, actually sells products people want to buy. But Meghan? She can't secure a single major partnership despite having Duchess before her name and Prince as her husband's title. That should tell you everything about how Hollywood really views her value proposition. The industry sees what Bauer documented so thoroughly. Someone who cannot work collaboratively, who makes everything about herself, who burns through staff and partnerships faster than California wildfires consume dry brush, who consistently overpromises and underdelivers. No amount of royal title can overcome that reputation. And Meghan is discovering that Hollywood's rejection, delivered with polite smiles and unreturned phone calls, might be the most brutal comedown of all. Now we need to talk about what might be the most terrifying development for Meghan Markle, and it has everything to do with Prince Andrew's spectacular fall from grace. Tom Bauer is drawing direct parallels between Andrew's situation and what's brewing for the Sussexes, and the implications are absolutely chilling for anyone whose entire identity revolves around a royal title they married into. Let's rewind to what happened with Andrew. For years, he denied, deflected, and refused to accept the severity of his situation. He gave that disastrous BBC interview where he claimed he couldn't sweat and had been at Pizza Express in Woking. He insisted he'd never met Virginia Giuffre, despite photographic evidence proving otherwise. He lied repeatedly, and those lies were eventually exposed by emails and documents that contradicted every single thing he'd said publicly. Sound familiar? Because Meghan's pattern of creating narratives that don't match reality is playing out almost identically. But here's what nobody saw coming. King Charles, the man everyone criticized for being too soft, too hesitant, too unwilling to make hard decisions, finally drew a line in the sand so brutal it shocked the entire world. He stripped Andrew of everything. The titles, the home, the royal protection, the public role. Gone. Finished. An unprecedented move that hadn't been seen in generations, and it sent a message that reverberated far beyond Frogmore Cottage and Royal Lodge. Tom Bauer is now suggesting this sets a precedent that should terrify Meghan and Harry. If the king could do this to his own brother, a prince of the blood born into royalty, what protection does a duchess by marriage really have? Especially one whose husband has spent years trashing the family in books, interviews, documentaries, and court testimonies. Bauer revealed something truly explosive during his interview. He believes Prince William is actively planning to strip the Sussexes of their titles the moment he becomes king, and recent events suggest that timeline might be accelerating faster than anyone anticipated. William reportedly pushed his father to take decisive action against Andrew, refusing to tolerate any more embarrassment or association with scandal. He's moving into Windsor Great Park and made it clear he wouldn't accept seeing Andrew driving around in his Range Rover like nothing happened. If William has that kind of influence over his father's decisions regarding the king's own brother, imagine what he'll do when he has full control over decisions regarding his brother who abandoned the family, sold out their secrets, and married someone William reportedly views as toxic and manipulative. The mortality factor Bauer mentions is crucial here. King Charles is seriously ill, and William knows he might inherit a mess if decisive action isn't taken now. The stables need cleaning, as Bauer puts it, and Andrew was just the beginning. Sources close to William suggest he views the Sussex situation as equally threatening to the monarchy's survival and reputation. The titles Harry and Meghan cling to, the prince and princess designations for their children that they demanded, the entire royal connection that funds their relevance and lifestyle could vanish with a single decree when William takes the throne. Let's talk about Prince Harry's increasingly desperate attempts to rebuild bridges with his family in Britain, and why those efforts are creating massive tension in the Montecito mansion. Because what Tom Bauer is revealing about Harry's motivations has nothing to do with family reconciliation, and everything to do with survival strategy that directly conflicts with Meghan's scorched earth approach. Harry's recent trips to the UK have been fascinating to watch if you understand what's really happening beneath the surface. He shows up, plays the old Harry charm card, does some charity work, throws around $500,000 in donations to generate positive press coverage. He flies to Balmoral to spend days with his father, supposedly discussing family matters. He makes carefully staged public appearances designed to remind Britain of the prince they used to love before Meghan entered the picture. And according to palace insiders, he's lobbying hard for some kind of part-time royal role, some foothold in Britain that keeps him connected to the family and the privileges that connection provides. But here's what Bauer exposed that's so revealing about Harry's true desperation. The man needs Britain in ways Meghan either doesn't understand or refuses to acknowledge. His entire identity is wrapped up in being a prince, being relevant to the royal story, having access to the security and status that comes with family connections. Without that British foothold, he's just a middle-aged ex-royal living in California with a wife whose brand keeps failing, and no particular skills or qualifications to sustain the lifestyle they're burning through money to maintain. The inheritance situation is reportedly weighing heavily on Harry's mind as well. King Charles is seriously ill, and Harry knows that his scorched earth approach to family relationships might have consequences when wills get executed and trust funds get distributed. Unlike William, who has the Duchy of Cornwall generating tens of millions annually, Harry's financial future depends largely on what his father decides to leave him. And right now, after years of public attacks, court testimonies revealing private conversations, and a memoir that betrayed family confidences, that inheritance is far from guaranteed. Here's where the Montecito tension becomes impossible to ignore. Meghan has made it crystal clear she's never setting foot in Britain again. She views herself as too important, too successful, too evolved for the country that rejected her carefully manufactured victim narrative. She supposedly focused on building her American empire, despite every venture crashing spectacularly. But Harry needs that UK connection desperately, and the conflict between his survival instincts and her pride is creating a fracture that insiders say is widening by the day. Reports suggest Harry wants Meghan to attend the Invictus Games in Birmingham in 2027. He's hoping a reconciliation with his father might make that possible, might create a scenario where Meghan could return without facing the hostility she absolutely deserves. But Bauer is blunt about the reality. William and Catherine will never accept Meghan back. That door is welded shut, bolted closed, and buried under concrete. Harry can reconnect all he wants, but his wife's bridge burning has created a permanent separation that no amount of expensive charm offensives can repair. Now we need to examine something Tom Bauer has studied extensively about Meghan Markle, and it's the psychological pattern that's actually destroying whatever credibility she has left. Because what worked for her as an aspiring actress, what carried her through snagging a prince, what got her through the initial California landing, is now completely backfiring in ways she clearly didn't anticipate. Bauer has documented this extensively. Meghan has never, not once in public, admitted a mistake. She's never acknowledged a failure. She's never shown genuine vulnerability or taken responsibility for anything that's gone wrong. Every problem is someone else's fault. The British media, the racist royal family, the evil courtiers, the jealous commentators, anyone and everyone except Meghan herself. And this inability to accept reality, to demonstrate growth, to show any human imperfection, is making her increasingly unlikable to the very audiences she's desperately trying to court. Look at the contrast with other celebrities who've rebuilt after scandals. They show humility, they acknowledge mistakes, they demonstrate they've learned and grown. But Meghan? She keeps doubling down on narratives that everyone can see through. The homemade jam that came from Illinois, the authentic cooking show where she couldn't actually cook, the friendship with people she's meeting for the first time on camera, the constant victim posturing from a mansion in Montecito. It's exhausting, and public patience has evaporated completely. The smile is particularly fascinating. Bauer pointed out how even when they were being booed at the Dodgers game, Meghan maintained that pageant-perfect expression while Harry's discomfort was visible. She never breaks character, never lets the mask slip. And while that might seem like strength, it actually reads as deeply inauthentic to audiences who are craving something real. Victoria Beckham thrives because she mocks herself. She admits to her quirks and limitations, but Meghan presents this flawless facade that nobody believes, and the disconnect is crushing her remaining credibility. The word salad phenomenon has become particularly damaging. Remember when she told Jamie Kern-Lima they must share the same blood type? When she said a bottle of shampoo is like a hug? When she hoped 4-year-old Lilibet would become an activist? These aren't inspirational statements. They're nonsensical ramblings from someone who thinks saying profound-sounding things makes her profound, but instead reveals how little substance exists behind the carefully constructed image. It's become so bad that even sympathetic media outlets are struggling to quote her without it sounding ridiculous. What's truly devastating is how this pattern validates everything Bauer wrote about Meghan's fundamental character. He described someone so consumed by self-love and self-promotion that genuine human connection becomes impossible. Someone who sees every interaction as transactional, every relationship as a means to advance her agenda. And now we're watching that play out in real time as friends disappear, opportunities evaporate, and the public turns away from someone who demands constant sympathy while demonstrating zero empathy for anyone else. The narcissist playbook that got her this far is now the very thing ensuring she can't go any further. So where does this all lead? Tom Bower, the man who's predicted every Sussex scandal with unsettling accuracy, has some thoughts about Meghan and Harry's ultimate trajectory, and it's not the Hollywood ending she's been desperately trying to script for herself, because the slow-motion spiral we're all witnessing isn't stopping anytime soon, and the final act might be more devastating than anyone outside Montecito's gates can fully comprehend. Bower is blunt about one thing: Meghan will never voluntarily disappear. Despite the mounting failures, the public rejection, the brand collapses, and professional humiliations, she'll keep showing up, keep chasing relevance, keep manufacturing opportunities that legitimate celebrities wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. That humanitarian award from an organization nobody's heard of? She'll accept it with a speech about her importance. That Fashion Week event she wasn't invited to? She'll crash it and smile for cameras while everyone whispers about the desperation. The podcast that nobody asked for? She'll announce it anyway and pretend the lack of platform interest is strategic timing. But here's where the endgame gets truly serious. Those titles she's clinging to, the Duchess designation that's literally the only thing keeping her relevant, hang by a thread that's fraying faster than her carefully curated image. Prince William is reportedly waiting, planning, preparing to take decisive action the moment he has full authority. And unlike his father, who hesitates and seeks compromise, William has demonstrated through the Andrew situation that he's willing to make brutal decisions for the monarchy's survival. Harry might hope for reconciliation, but Meghan's bridge burning has ensured that when William becomes king, the Sussex titles are living on borrowed time. The financial reality is equally grim. That Montecito mansion requires millions to maintain. The security costs alone would bankrupt most people. The lifestyle they're desperately clinging to requires income streams that simply aren't materializing. Netflix is unlikely to renew after the With Love Meghan disaster. No major brands want Sussex partnerships. American Riviera Orchard is dead in the water, and Harry's trust funds and inheritance are far from guaranteed after years of public family betrayal. Sources suggest they're already living beyond their means, and that math only works until it doesn't. Bower makes a chilling observation about the monarchy's survival versus the Sussex survival. The institution has weathered far worse storms over 1,000 years of history: kings who beheaded wives, abdication crises, wars and scandals that would destroy ordinary families. The monarchy adapts, endures, continues. But Meghan and Harry? They're transient players in a story much bigger than themselves, and the institution will sacrifice them without hesitation if their continued association threatens the crown's stability and public support. Prince Andrew discovered that truth the hard way. The Sussexes are about to learn the same lesson, except they have even less protection because they chose to walk away before getting pushed. The question isn't whether Meghan's Montecito operation will ultimately collapse. The question is how spectacular that collapse will be when it finally happens, and whether she'll still be smiling that pageant smile when the titles disappear and the last door closes. So what do you think about Tom Bower's explosive revelations? Is Meghan Markle's Montecito empire really crumbling behind those mansion gates, or is this just another chapter in the never-ending Sussex saga? And more importantly, do you believe Prince William will actually strip those titles when he becomes king? Or will Harry somehow manage to rebuild those family bridges before it's too late? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear what you think about this unfolding disaster. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the Sussex scandal, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next bombshell. Trust us, with Meghan and Harry, there's always another scandal waiting just around the corner, and you won't want to miss what happens next. The royal drama continues, and we'll be here to break it all down for you.